So I found out that Dragon's Nine Realms only had 6 episodes, and I was like, you know what? Let me just finish it, just to say that I did, just to get through this, and see if it actually gets any better. It doesn't get much better. Cool, they had some weird action scenes that are okay, but overall, everything just feels like a PBS adventure, or a Nick Jr. type thing. It doesn't come away feeling as though it has any substance, and while they do try to emulate a lot of the How to Train Your Dragon stuff, there's something just freaking off about this show. I already explained in my previous video that I did not like the animations. Camp Cretaceous did similar animations, but theirs was a little bit better, the herky-jerky movements, but there was something different, and I think I found out what it was, and I'll talk about it near the end of the show. Anyways, let's dive into episode 3. Tom is still trying to hide the dragons from his mother. Nobody else knows about them. And while he gets the nerdy girl, who is also very annoying, to chime in and turn off the sensors, he sees the sheep that he shaved, and this thing is always after him for some reason, which I get, but I'm like, okay, I guess. That's supposed to be for comedic effect as well. Not really funny to me. Glasses girl is like, I got this. And she all of a sudden has come out of her shell from one conversation that they were having about the possibility of there being dragons, or what dragons would exist where and whatnot, and then she just starts talking out of nowhere like that cartoon fashion where one character doesn't talk, and then for some reason, out of the blue when no one's expecting it, they start talking and never shut up again. The person who was like painfully extra shy all of a sudden becomes way more extroverted in the space of like 30 seconds. And that's now their personality, which makes no sense. And I can tell you from actual experience that that doesn't happen. Annoying June follows him and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh boy. So she goes down into this little lair. It's a place that he found that, or his dragon found, and she meets Thunder. Seeing her interact with Thunder is one of the more believable things in this entire show, because she's in awe.
Get off me, come on.
You're laughing?
Yes, idiot, you're very observant. You clearly can see that. I think a more natural reaction, to be honest, would be her just sitting there in astonishment without saying anything. That would feel more realistic. I have a feeling that even though they seem to be gearing this towards just kids, that the people making this have forgotten what being a kid is actually like. Because kids are super observant, the characters are already facially expressive, so there's no need to constantly narrate what they're feeling or how they're thinking. The child can see that, can pick up those cues, and I think that it's very unhealthy, to be honest. All of that aside, I think it's kind of unhealthy when you're like, let me walk and hold the hand of the child every step of the way through a story without having them learn to pick up social cues themselves through the cartoons that they watch. Obviously, when I was very young, and a lot of people were very young, you could tell when someone is shocked, you can tell when someone is angry, you can tell when a face looks uncomfortable. You pick up that stuff because you see the reaction people have as a result to having that expression. It enables them to be taught intuition and all of that. Now you have a lot of socially awkward people who are painfully socially awkward, not introverted, just socially awkward, because they never learned that. They weren't around enough people to pick that up, and if you only watch cartoons or your kid only watches cartoons, that's where they're gonna pick it up most of the time. So she's like, dragons are real! She really wants to tell her mom because her mom thinks she's crazy, and Tom basically stops her and he's like, no, you can come and ride on this dragon though. And this dragon, who was supposed to be like wary of people, never seen people before, is super bonded and super friendly. And then we get a segment of her flying on the dragon, and the only sweet part about it is that she starts crying. Dragons still look freaking ugly though, but she starts crying, and it's so touching because that's how I would feel. She's like, I can't believe this is real, and the power between my legs, oh, it's so real. I want to tell everyone, but I can't. Since she already knows a lot, he decides to show her the hidden world, which looks a lot less grandiose than the hidden world that we saw in How to Train Your Dragon. I want you to take a second and take in this view and when they discover the hidden world for the first time, because this is the exact view that Tom sees when he discovers the hidden world, and look back at the movie that they're trying to base this on and how they were introduced to it. We as the audience through these characters are supposed to feel what Hiccup and Astrid felt for the first time when they saw this. Hiccup and Astrid already had their dragons, yet when they discovered the hidden world, there was this overwhelming sensation of just awe and inspiration. It made you feel like that scene from Jurassic Park with Ellie and Alan Grant when they saw the dinosaur for the first time. And they were able to translate that. And these guys, it was just...
Oh, sorry.
That's a lot of dragons.
Looks like a whole world of them.
Actually, no. Looks like a freaking Pokemon backdrop to a battle. It looks like a stand to a 3D model figurine or something. It does not look like a hidden world. And you can't tell how large this world is by just standing there. Like, they make it so cramped and small. It pales in comparison to what we actually saw. I know this is like another part or segment of the hidden world and they're not gonna look all exactly the same, but the grandeur is just completely lost. Look at the How to Train Your Dragon scene. So they start off with this quiet, soothing music, and I mean, this is like a 3-minute segment. And I'm not saying it should be 3 minutes in the show, because they're trying to be all fast-paced, but there's lots of shiny colors. So if you're trying to appeal to kids, they're gonna like it regardless. And they kind of build up the big reveal for what they're gonna see in the hidden world. I mean, it takes a while, and then they finally get to the opening and look at Astrid and Hiccup's faces. Look at how they react to this. See, they don't have to say anything. You can see their faces that they're shocked. Everyone got that from looking at that scene. Every single person. Not one person saw this scene like, oh my god, they seem terrified and sad. Nobody thought that. Every child, everybody that I know of that was really small when they saw this and grew up older and they were like remembering. And they remember this scene. They're like, wow, that was the most chilling scene of the hidden world because of how beautiful everything was. Nobody mentioned any fear. Like, we got it. The music and the character's expression did that for us. And notice how they built up the suspense to seeing something so beautiful. It's reverent. Dragons are to be revered. This place is to be revered. This is the hidden world we're talking about. These kids didn't know dragons existed. At least the Vikings did, but these kids didn't. And not only did they go into this completely unfazed, like, oh my god, it's a dragon, and then like 2 seconds later, yeah, let's ride, woohoo, you're my best buddy ever, and it's so freaking annoying, so annoying. God, it makes no freaking sense. It would have made more sense for them to continue the storyline with Astrid's kids and Hiccup's kids, because at least it would be believable if the kids go out and they're a little older, and then they're like, however, the Nightlight's names, and then you see the Nightlights come out, and you realize, oh wow, these kids formed a bond with their dragons. And maybe one of the kids has a dragon, and the other Nightlights flew away, or if their dragons flew away and left, and they miss them, but they know what dragons are, but they meet new dragons, and we get that all over again. Some completely new species apart from the freaking Night Fury. Because, you know, the Night Fury's not new anymore. Now we have another subspecies of it called the Light Fury. Then you got the Nightlights. I think we're all furied out here. So it would be kind of cool if we found a completely new species that was like a legendary dragon. Not like the Muppets that we have them riding in this show. I mean, an actual dragon that looks like, damn, dragon looks freaking awesome. But they probably do it because these are throwaway characters, so they may throw away dragons. And then there would be some reverence there. But in the show, there's just none of that. Again, Look at the main area when Astrid and Hiccup are going to the main area of the hidden world where they see all the dragons. There's one other time that they did this, and it was in the second How to Train Your Dragon, I believe. Was it the second where he met Valka? So yeah, How to Train Your Dragon 2. You can see when Hiccup goes to the dragon sanctuary with his mother, same reverent look of awe and shock, and this is coming from a guy that's been used to dragons, has known dragons his entire life, and now has bonded with dragons, and whenever he sees this for the first time, there's still the swelling music, and also the reverent look on his face, and the beautiful close-up of the dragons, and how different they are. Look at the difference with these two scenes, this one and the one with the hidden world, and then the show. He doesn't need to say anything. He's shocked. He's in awe. The place just has this paradise reverent feeling, and it's so respectful. Now look at the hidden world segment.
Toothless. You'll spook them.
Doing that dance and doing all of that. First of all, you have some close-up of the dragons. They've done this in every single scene in How to Train Your Dragon. This is still a part of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, is it not? And Toothless and Astrid, sorry, I keep calling Hiccup Toothless. Hiccup and Astrid are always so surprised and in awe whenever they're looking at the dragons. Now let's compare it to the show again.
We're almost there. Wow. You never get used to it, do you?
Get used to what?
Oh, sorry.
That's a lot of dragons.
Looks like a whole world of them.
Has this place been here the whole time?
That's all we got. Look. Yeah, right? Has this been here the whole time? Like, what the hell, man? So, you do not have to dumb down and Muppetize everything for kids to enjoy it. Also consider that a lot of us who've grown up with this, we're not little tiny kids. They just butchered this whole thing. It feels like 2% milk that's not actually milk. And everything just moves way too freaking fast.
Why are we going so fucking fast?
Anyway, they get attacked by these rhino horn crystal monster things. These things are very territorial and aggressive, and somehow Tom and his dragon understand each other completely. June ends up falling through a rock, and she quickly discovers that there's something under the water with her. I will say the design for the inside of this place is actually pretty nice. They did a decent job with the environment in here.
It's just a fish. Another fish.
Why would you think it's another fish? And if you fall into a strange place and you're underwater, why would you sit there to try and figure out what it is? Why not jump out of the water in case it's not a fish? You know, seeing as there are dragons that live in this place, you not knowing what's underneath, you're like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and wait to see what it is instead of trying to clamber out.
Two-headed dragon.
And we know this is gonna be her dragon because they have the tribal or the Chinese markings and the slight design of Chinese dragons. And she's Chinese, so all of the dragons, and you know what? It doesn't even, one of the things that just upset me is this was supposed to be a wondrous scene, but two things. Number one, the element of surprise is ruined because the second episode, before anybody even knows about the dragons, we get a full intro of not only the main character riding his dragon, but look, June has this dragon, so it wasn't a surprise. Then we have this girl who has her dragon, and then we have the beefy boy who has his dragon. So now we know what each and every one of their dragons look like, so when they meet their dragons, it's no longer a surprise. Why they decided to do that is beyond me. It doesn't make any sense. And the only explanation I can come up with is it was strictly for baby children, which is just such a cheat. So forgive me, for a baby show, whatever. Throw your kids' brains away, it doesn't matter. But for someone who is a fan of How to Train Your Dragon, who is a young adult to adult, you guys are probably not, you're probably gonna like it, some of you, but your chances are you're probably not gonna like it. You're gonna feel as though you're watching something that's not geared towards you. She ends up taming the dragon pretty fast after like 2 failed attempts by trying to talk like a wizard. And the whole episode is about her taming Wu and Wei, the fire and ice dragon. And she talks about her culture and how her grandmother told her stories. She ends up riding her dragon near the end, and now they're gonna work together to try and get out of here. How they tame their dragons and how to train your dragon actually made more sense because Hiccup taught them how to train their dragons. Every dragon had to be tamed differently. It wasn't just you just go up to a dragon, you like it. No, there's specific things needed to train each of those dragons. And even though you can say that's ridiculous, at least they had that element of variety in the How to Train Your Dragon movies, because nobody can just go up and be like, oh, every single one of those dragons, I'm just gonna go up and stretch out my hand and just talk nice things and they'll just befriend me. That doesn't happen with every dragon. There's no element of danger, and there was an element of danger in How to Train Your Dragon, even though it was ridiculous, but there was more of an element of danger there than there is this, because at least the dragons were actively trying to kill them. That means that when you actually train your dragon, it feels as though it was deserved and warranted. Anyway, in the 4th episode, they can't leave just yet because they see this dragon that we already know from the spoilers in the intro is going to end up being the beefy kid's dragon. Meanwhile, the adults are like, there's some weird stuff happening with the earthquakes and whatnot. They decide to get D'Angelo, who's the beefy kid, involved, but Tom didn't really want to do this because the dragons are to be kept a secret, and the more people know about it, the more dangerous it's going to be. But they happen to run into him, and he's like, I want to help the lizard that you're helping, and the lie turns big, and he ends up meeting the dragon. He faints a few times after meeting Thunder and Wu Wei, and he's like, oh my god, fainting. But they're like, you can't say anything, or these dragons are gonna be in danger. You gotta help this dragon over here that's got something stuck in her freaking wherever she's got it stuck. Maybe her uterus is falling out. Dragons don't have uteruses. They might! He's like really fearful and then becomes super brave all of a sudden. Like if little kids were trying to learn how to be brave, this is a really horrible way to display that. I think Hiccup displayed it way better, and I know we had like a lot of movies, but consider that the first movie was 1 hour and 38 minutes. We have 6 episodes, each about 20 minutes long. That's 2 hours. They built up Hiccup's character and all of his friends in that time, so why could they not do it with this? Oh, whatever. He tries to charge the dragon, and he's like, where is she? She's like super intelligent, knows how to hide, and he gets hit, and she's attacking him. He finally rushes into her and sticks her with a needle, and she becomes like super calm. I guess he stuck her with some morphine or something to sedate her. He finds that there's a shard, like a crystal shard underneath her wing, and that's what was causing her pain. Then they're like, aw, her friends. Let's leave her alone so they can accept her. I already knew it was gonna happen. They start beating the shit out of her, like, you didn't let us smash, yo. So they blame those dragons and think that they're the ones that hurt her in the first place. What'd they do? Smash a crystal inside of her wing? Instantly, D'Angelo and this dragon become bonded. He's afraid of heights, but has no problem getting on her back and riding. You know, I'm scared of heights, but now I feel completely fine riding you when you don't even have a good enough saddle. I'm literally sitting on a freaking crystal on what essentially is no freaking neck. He's like, we gotta go back and save our friends, but the dragon's smarter than he is, and she has an idea.
Where's the brakes on this thing? What are you doing?
Okay, so he's happy with her, and he's like, yeah, this is a good idea, great. Yet it doesn't occur to him to yell to his friends and say, look out. Granted, the other dragons would probably see him, but you want to take the chance that it might fall on your fucking friends? You want to take the chance that it will splinter and the fragments, when it hits the ground, is going to go and smash into their faces? Do you see how easily they could have died? That was irresponsible. If I didn't know better, I would start to question whether you were trying to kill me or kill the dragons. These dragons withstood ice and fire and lightning, but they get hit by the crystals, which are the shit that they eat, and they're like, oh no, we need to fly away. That's the thing that scares us. Your fucking food falls on your face, and that's the thing that drives you away. Not the steam and the lightning and the fire and everything before that. How weird.
Plowhorn. Her name is Plowhorn.
How do you know it's a girl? While you're administering that stuff, did you stick your finger up underneath there and see if something slid out past your arm? How do they know what they are? Okay, to be fair, the original How to Train Your Dragons, they found out too, but from what I know, I've only heard them refer to the dragons' genders after they've known the dragons for a while. Maybe I'm wrong, but after Astrid has her deadly natter for a while, and you start hearing them say, oh, it's a her, when they're attacking or when they're in the middle of taming their dragons, you don't know what the hell those dragons are. But if kids are watching, they don't want to go through the whole spiel of being like, I wonder if it's a boy or a girl. But it would have made more sense if you name the dragon later and then the next episode you're like, oh, she's over there, which means some time would have gone by in between cuts or at least another scene. So between the time that they were off screen, you could say maybe he looked underneath her dress and found out. Then they all are like, whoa, our dragons! And now they're like a team and they need one more. That night in the dome, D'Angelo's house or cottage, his mom and dad cook them dinner. And they're like, you gotta keep it a secret, dude. You can't say shit or we'll chop your freaking neck off. And because he's so close to his mom and dad, he ends up spilling everything. He is the worst person to keep secrets. Oh, that looks so good, so keto. Oh, how is it that the food models look better than the people? It's fine though, because the parents don't believe them. They're like, oh, it's a video game. And the mother's like, it's a video game. Like, she knew what Dragon Club was. So weird. Oh, one dragon left, and we know it's a dragon that goes invisible. That girl's riding it in the intro. We get a sad moment when there's a lot of lightning and thunder gets really sad because it probably reminds him of something either scary or something else, which we then realize later means he misses his own kind. He was looking for his family, which is weird because it's the hidden world. I know it's like super large, but last time I checked, there was like a ton of Night Furies. And in this episode, we get the last dragon, the Quetzalcoatl looking dragon. And around this time, this girl starts to notice that weird things are happening. Her mom's trying to get her to come outside. Look, for people who have two dads or two moms, how do you differentiate the parents? Because I'd be like, mom, and then both of them would answer. It would get freaking confusing. And if you say mom 1 and mom 2, they're gonna feel unequal. So what do? Like, mom Patricia, mom Stephanie, then that's too long. And they have to start making up names. Maybe you call one Moosh and you call one Mass. Like, what do? Like, real talk. How do you do that? Anyway, her parents are like, you can come out and adventure with us for the Fireflies. And she's super scared because she had a traumatic childhood and she doesn't want to go outside ever. Something, however, motivates her to go outside because she has seen that Tom has used the sensor trick, getting past the sensors like 7 to 9 times, and she wants to know where he's going. Meanwhile, the rest of the kids are trying to teach their dragons how to hide. The others are trying to figure out whether or not they should tell the girl named Alexandria, and the dragons end up walking up to her.
Your tracker says you're down there. I'm going home. Okay then.
While she goes home, she gets haunted and she figures out that there's a monster in her house. They all try to play it off when they come to her door saying it was just kids in costumes. She's not buying any of it. This is where she ends up meeting her dragon. The dragon is invisible and they have to play it off until her moms leave. Right now, everyone is trying to play it cool. Meanwhile, the moms are just so happy that their daughter has friends.
This can follow me home. No, get away! Get away!
What I find really fascinating about the dragon is not just the fact that it can get invisible or go invisible, it's the fact that it also mimics. And I can imagine how terrifying that would be. I would love to make a creepypasta of this, just so the dragons can be scary. But this thing can actually reply like a parrot or mimic human language or just mimic things in general. Tom tries to encourage her and let her know it's okay. They're friendly. They're all friendly. Sure they are, because they totally didn't try to attack you at first. But whatevs, all the dragons are friendly except those rhino ones that you failed to mention. And she gets real with him and tells him the reason why she's so terrified.
Animals, they're unpredictable and you know, sometimes really, really mean. This one time, this really big dog followed me home. And everyone was saying, it likes you, you should pet it. And so I did pet it, and it bit me. It bit me so hard. And then it growled, and it chased me.
So I like that they gave that backstory. It was very real. It was like, okay, I can understand her fear of animals. A lot of people who've had situations like that especially don't get socialized with animals right afterwards, they do carry that scar for life. But it doesn't matter, because all it takes is about 3 minutes for her to get used to her dragon and come completely out of her shell again. No working up to it, just like quick transition. Something that has haunted her entire life. Now she's like, it's safe. And he's like, yeah. She's like, this is great. It's a whole ass fucking dragon. I don't like animals and dogs scare me, but I am totally okay now. No PTSD, no whatsoever. Now they have to get the dragons into hiding, and apparently the father is really stupid because something that looks clearly not like everything else stands right out, and he's like, no, it's cool. But maybe his brain is filtering it out, because why would it be a dragon? The dragons all escape, and while Alex is bonding with her dragon, she sees her mom's catching fireflies. The dragon goes invisible and protects her or hides her right before her moms find her. The dragon also seems to calm her down, so she doesn't feel so scared. Again, very odd that you would trust a creature who is much larger than the dog and just be completely okay with it immediately and bond with it. Now they all have their dragons. And of course, Alexandra, being Hispanic, identifies with the roots of her culture, specifically Mayan, which means she's probably Mexican. For episode 6, the last episode of season 1, we get the adults in one room all discussing what is happening with the oh my god. I am sorry, but holy moly, holy cricky, what is this person? Chucky the doll incarnate. The other thing that creeps me out about these models are their freaking eyes, my guy. They don't change.
It don't move.
Even when they're in the dark, they're freaking pinpoints. And when they're in a light setting like hers, they're freaking big. And she looks like one of those chickens that you squeeze and they go, oh, like those things. And then you put them under cars and stuff to see what noises they can make and how long they can make it. But the human version of that. Deplorable. You get the occasional people that look normal, like this guy, or her. And then you get the beastly abominations, like the security guard. And this fucking Martian. I honestly can't with the show sometimes. Anyways, Cullerson, the mom, is like, look, we can drop this thing down to this area where I think that the quakes are coming from and explode it and stop it from happening. There's some mumbo jumbo with it, which honestly doesn't make any sense, but everyone believes her except for one person. Wait a minute. Did they just reuse the redhead's model and put it on this thing? Wow.
Olivia has never steered us wrong. If she says it will work, I trust her.
I hope for everyone's sake that you're both right.
That's a lot of trust. Understandably, the kids are freaking out because they're like, oh my god, it's gonna cut off the dragons and cave them in. Which is what you want, right? Because, you know, there's one other problem too. Tom and June had seen something in the caves. It was this gigantic drill hole that looked like a machine went through it. And we already know, foreshadowing, that was going to be a dragon, because what else could it be? The most important thing is that the kids say goodbye to their dragons, because they're like, if we're gonna leave and then those people are gonna come down and start blowing shit up, you might get locked out of your home. So lead the dragons to the hidden world and keep them there. Like, those dragons don't know where their home is, because did they not come from the hidden world? Whatever. So Thunder takes them back there and the kids leave. Meanwhile, the adults get the probe ready.
It's a dragon.
So they figure out that a dragon has been the one causing all those earthquakes, and that explains the hole that they saw in the cave. The kids come up with a plan to save their parents, because the parents are going to go down there and they want to protect the identity of the dragons and the fact that there are dragons there. So they're like, you know what? Maybe we can blow this thing up or defeat the Fault Ripper, as they're calling it, so we can protect our parents, which makes no sense, but okay. D'Angelo drops them down to the area. The reason they're doing this is so they can get their dragons back, and the dragons can help them to defeat the Fault Ripper. D'Angelo's dad, the security guy, is like, what is happening? When one of the workers comes up to him and tells him that we've got some weird stuff going on. The place is very beautiful, but understandably very treacherous. While June and Tom are down there, they locate something coming quickly towards them and come face to face with the Fault Ripper, who they discover very quickly cannot see and hunts by sound. By that logic, it should be able to hear them, and that's why it has very huge ears on the side of its horns. Right as they're like descending, the dragon goes all around them, and we think it's going to attack them, but it never does. D'Angelo's dad comes out and is like, what the frick is going on? Why isn't the probe secured, bro? He brings it back up, and Tom and June are like, we gotta jump, which they were planning to do before this was even an issue, which is crazy. They could have killed themselves. But you know, it's this cartoon. Yeah, we're fearless, bro. Probe is nice and secure. D'Angelo had bucked out of there and told his friends that they were on their own. Meanwhile, the boy who was afraid of heights is hanging underneath the area over the freaking lot. Like, how? Where's all this bravery coming from? How has all of a sudden someone who was terrified of heights and a coward become such a badass in one swell transition within the same scene? It makes no sense. The probe is lowered the next day with D'Angelo's dad and Tom's mom in there. They find the hole that the dragon went through, and they're like, yeah, this is really weird. Is this where these quakes are coming from? They go ahead and they fire some missiles in there to cave down the area, and hopefully the instability will cave in and they won't have those problems anymore. Meanwhile, because Tom and June are stuck there, he tries calling out to Thunder to see if the dragons will come to him. But unfortunately, them doing this attracts the Fault Ripper.
It's heading for the probe!
Mom!
Tom, we need our dragons.
I know that, idiot. I've been trying to do that. I'm stuck here just like you. You believe in magic. You always have magic shit around you. Why don't you cook up a spell and call them to us? Sprout us wings. Keep your mouth closed. Make it disappear. Maybe that will help us get out of the situation faster.
Come on, pal. Please.
Thunder!
Bull shit. Did you remember a few moments ago when Tom and June were descending in that probe and that freaking dragon was flying everywhere but where the probe was? Because it heard them, but it's like, oh God, I can't seem to know where you are. But D'Angelo and Tom's mom are in the probe and they are staying still. The probe isn't being pulled up or lowered. They are completely still. And this dragon somehow hones in and starts attacking them. And you can say, oh, it's because they're talking. Mind you, Tom and June were also talking when they were in the probe. As it was being lowered, it did not attack them. And when they stopped talking, the probe was being lowered, which makes noise. It did not attack them. It makes no freaking sense. Then we hear something like the Night Fury coming to them, and then we see electricity, and it's like, oh, it's thunder. What a beautiful scene. He blasts the rocks open. And somehow, miraculously, none of them get hit by the boulders that all come forcing out like an explosion. Tom ends up distracting the Fault Ripper. They get Alexandra and D'Angelo in on this. Unfortunately, the dragons are all out of juice, and for some reason, they cannot do anything without the help of the girl with the invisible dragon that also has a sonic power as well that it uses to hurt this dragon's ears and disorient it. Yay! How wonderful that I have a dragon who can go invisible, mimic, and do sonic attacks. They all needed that last girl or else their goose would have been cooked. And I hate the way the plot just has them all standing there in the air like, oh, nothing's gonna happen unless someone saves us. Everyone's waiting at the right moment instead of flying away like they're sitting there like idiots looking at this dragon, look at them, and they're like, our goose is cooked, whatever are we going to do? As if we're waiting on cue for someone to come and save us, like we're not on freaking dragons with wings that can fly away. I don't understand. Oh my God. Anyways, Alexandra's sonic dragon helps, and as the dragon is getting disoriented, since Tom is so freaking close for some stupid reason, even though he's not doing anything, his dragon, he gets dragged down to the depths, and nobody can catch him because, you know, they just can't. Tom goes falling into the lava, or so we're supposed to think. And then here is how sad the girl who has known him since he was a kid, or a smaller kid, and who she really likes, this is how her display of sadness just gets you in the gut.
There was nothing anyone did or could do.
Tom.
Shut your bitch ass. What kind of crying is that? Oh, Tom. It makes me want to freaking smack her face off. Oh my God, it's so annoying. Why do people cry like that? Like, you know, when we've fallen from grace, we fall so hard. Look at the detail in her eyes.
A father. A friend.
I'm not the peacekeeper I thought I was. I don't know.
Oh my god. It's so sweet. They're not even like bawling, but they translate sadness. Hear their voice when he cries. If you can't act like you're crying, then just show the animation crying. What makes no sense is that in the show, they showed her crying. They showed June crying when she met the freaking dragons, when she's like, oh my god, dragons are real and I'm flying on one. But she fake cries when the guy that she likes takes a plummet to his death.
Tom.
Holy fuck. It hurts so bad. I don't know why. It just... Okay, the characters, the animations are filled to the brim with freaking polygonial Botox, and they cannot emote. Then cry. Cry. Think about something happening to your kitten. Go to the... Where are the directors? What? God damn, I'd be an evil director. I swear to God. I would make the actors cry on principle. I'm like, look, you want to be paid, you want to keep this going, then you're going to have to sell it. Now cry. And if they don't know how to cry, I can help them get there. And if you can't act, then at least show the tears running down her face so the people who are watching or the kids who are watching are like, she's crying. Because it sounds like she's faking it. It sounds like she's laughing.
Tom.
Why are you covering your eyes? We saw you laughing. We saw you crying in the scene before. We saw tears. You're capable of shedding tears. Do you not love Tom? Did you actually want to see him die? Oh God, it's just so annoying. I don't know. I know I'm ranting about this like a hell of a long time, but good grief, man. Good griefers. Anyway, he's fine. It takes only a few seconds for him to come back up, and they're like, oh my God. And then she's like, oh shit, you're alive. Dry-eyed, completely dry, like a freaking old vajayjay. You weren't sorry. Don't like, you freaking cloudhead. The mother, Tom's mother, while she was groggy and kind of knocked out when the dragon head hit the thing, woke up momentarily and thought she saw her son riding a dragon, but she figured out it was just a concussion. Tom comes like he's not the one who saved the day and hugs his mom. And this girl's like, yes, I was wrong. Everything is a-okay, and the secret of the dragons has been held. They go back to their little cavern place that's now protected because the Fault Ripper is gone, presumably dead. They're all like, I hope he's okay. He took a dive for the lava. I don't know about that, but then again, this dragon does dig through the earth, so it's possible he can withstand the heat of the lava. And they're all there waiting, making their handprints, and then the Fury makes his Night Fury print, which Tom is like, oh my God, that's the same thing I saw on that Viking helmet. So it's like a callback to the movies that like nobody's gonna get. And then the season ends. Oh my God, what a trash show. Like, okay, it's not the worst show I've seen. If it's for like tiny baby kids, it's cool. It's not horrible. It's actually pretty good if you're like 6 years old. And I know that there's some older people who will like it, and I am so happy for you if you like it. I am so glad. There were elements of it that were good. I feel like the designs of the dragons have gotten a bit lazy, even though they're very artistic. The style of the How to Train Your Dragon dragons, I feel like the ones in this series were kind of lazy. You're basically just offshoots of other dragons, and I'm hoping that they'll give new ones. The other series did a better job, I feel like. Race to the Edge, even though I didn't finish it, did a better job with showing up new dragons. But this, the Quetzalcoatl looks so little-footinese. I don't know how to really say it, but I wish they took more liberties with how the dragons look. The Quetzalcoatl looks like a cricket and a grasshopper had a crack baby with a gecko. Like, the design for it is so nasty. I want to actually do, I'm not doing that now because I'm doing a speed paint of something else, but I actually want to go back and recreate some of these dragons because good grief, man, they look so weird. Why couldn't it have a beak? Are there any dragons that have actual beaks like birds? The Quetzalcoatl would have looked so nice with a beak. I'm actually gonna recreate this dragon because I don't know what the frick this thing, what are you? I know there's some people who will like the designs, but I just think the designs are lazy. I think the show has no substance, especially if you're coming from the movies and expecting this to be an offshoot. Race to the Edge did a much better job in my opinion. Camp Cretaceous did a much better job in my opinion. So that's just That's just my whole thing. Now, I'm going to get into the final overview, because I was just ranting off of this. But if I'm being totally fair, is it god-awful? As a standalone show, it's nice to pass the time or to put on for little tiny kids. It's fine. As part of the How to Train Your Dragon universe, it's not awful as a standalone show, but compared to the work that it is being paired with, it doesn't feel like it fits at all. And I will tell you why I believe this. It took me a while to think about it. I was talking with some other people, and I'm like, what is missing about the show? Aside from the herky-jerky stuff, because there are other shows out there like Camp Cretaceous that have a similar art style, even though their models look way better, and they have way more substance with their story. This is just like, oh, 6 episodes to pass the time. So the first thing is, they're too rushed. This show is way too rushed. When you're comparing it to the How to Train Your Dragon, the other series, aside from Rescue Riders, and you're comparing it to the original movies, you're hoping to get something with a little bit of a better pacing, especially when you have 6 episodes to work with and they're 20 minutes. You can get a 20-minute episode done with some kind of substance there, but this doesn't have any substance whatsoever. The next thing is the models. I feel like the models could be better and the designs could be better. I feel like they're doing this to market to people, but they just look very odd. I feel like the Fury, first of all, looks very ugly, in my opinion. The wings of the Fury, as I explained in the videos before, are so tiny, and while there are other species of dragons that do have those tiny wings at the base, the Fury always looked realistic in the wingspan and how the wings connected at the back of the dragon. That dragon looked like it was wearing a cape. It looked like an actual dragon. The dynamics and aerodynamics for that dragon made sense. The one for this, it looks awful. If this had been another dragon species, it'd be more forgivable, because there are dragon species out there where their wing shapes just don't make sense for their body type. But because this is based on a Fury, it is basically a Fury, you're expecting it to look like the Furies of the movies, and it does not. It looks like a horrible fan version of it. You know when people try to make it a little bit different and then they draw like white lines through the original and shave off piece of their chest? That's what this is supposed to be, and they call it different. They put like harder scales on this, and it just looks god-awful to me. The next thing is that they tame the dragons way too fast, and there wasn't enough variety in the way that they tamed them. I get it, they just wanted to get the show on the road and get everybody their dragons, but there was no stakes there. So when they get the dragons, it doesn't feel earned. So if they lose the dragons, I don't care. If they have a bad relationship, you won't ever see it, because everything's all rosy all the time. They just instantly bonded with their dragons, which makes the dragons feel more like machines and less like actual animals to be revered. The other major problem that I found was a big issue was the fact that it looked like this. The fact that it looks 3D in herky-jerky graphics. And you may be wondering, why are you taking an issue with that? Race of the Edge had that, all the others have that. That's the problem. Nothing is different. It's this carbon copy, herky-jerky animation that feels lazy and nasty and too quick. It feels like this was made for a freaking mouse. It makes no sense. And I think the reason why it's harder to receive this than other stuff like Camp Cretaceous is because, and here, wait for it, the original was also CGI animated. It was also 3D animated, so it's like, let's make a knockoff off of that and also make it CGI 3D animated. And because the original work was CGI animated and looks like this, you're expecting that when you get another CGI animated How to Train Your Dragon franchise work, that it's going to look smooth like this as well. The human brain is very weird. When it sees something that already is in a class, it's going to expect something saying that it's part of that class to look exactly like that. Look at the smoothness of these 3D animations. Look, you don't see Toothless or his girlfriend looking all bumpy. Look at the models for Hiccup and for Aster and the others. See Toothless's scales? You see how smooth and cool he looks? You see their movements, how beautiful they are? Now I understand that they can't get it exactly like this, so what would have made more sense, honestly, is if they had the movie that was CGI animated and then they had a 2D or like South Park cutout 2D animation of How to Train Your Dragon, much like they do in the How to Train Your Dragon books. If they made an animation off of that, that would have made more sense, and people would be less likely to constantly compare the show with the movies. You see where I'm coming from? It's like Jurassic Park was always live action, and then they made the 3D animation thing, so they're like, oh, it's geared for its kids. But because a lot of the people who grew up with How to Train Your Dragon loved it as a 3D animated thing, and they see another 3D animated thing, they're thinking it's going to be exactly the same. And it's not. It's very, very different. And I think our minds kind of trick us in that way. And we're like, ew, why doesn't it look like the original? Like, obviously, you'll feel that way about Camp Cretaceous because it looks so different. It's not live action. So that was my biggest thing. That was my biggest, like, oof. And I don't know why they keep doing this. Oh, and one other thing too, and a lot of people have pointed this out. The fact that it was set in the future. For some reason, the fact that this is set in the future makes it more unrelatable than if it were set in Viking time. The way that the people look, acted, and the culture of the people from the movies made more sense because it's from a different time. It's from a different world. It's easier for us to swallow the logic to something if it's a completely different world. You're like, oh, their heads look different. Okay, people were shaped weird back then. Oh, they're completely fearless and they jump from rocks, from chasms, and jump across freaking canyons. I guess people were more brave and risk takers back then. But in this, you mean to tell me it's set in my time and people see dragons and they are less surprised than people who grew up with dragons in their time? Just the whole thing, the incoherence of this was just so astounding. I think it was a very bad idea for them to have it set in the future, because now it just feels like a cash grab. If they had the story with Astrid and Hiccup's kids when they were older, or even just another person in an older time that we're not in right now. Someone in the comments had said, in the Renaissance era. That would be interesting. That would make more sense, because it's something we haven't seen. I don't want to see people interact with dragons when they have cell phones and shit. Like, it just takes away the magic of dragons for me. That's been done to death, and whenever it is done, it's cringy. It's really cringy. It doesn't work. And I think the reason they did that is so the kids, like little baby kids today, can feel like, oh, it's a cell phone. Oh my God, a microwave like me. You took away the whole magic that the original films had by doing that. It's a cute little experiment, but good grief, I hope they don't come up with a season 2 because it's just not working for me. And that's kind of unfair. I should say that I hope they don't come up with season 2 because I know there's some people who might enjoy it. But in all honesty, I feel like when they put out crap like this, it hurts the entire franchise. It kind of negates and dilutes the richness of the originality and uniqueness of the original movies. Everyone forgets them, and now when they think of How to Train Your Dragon or the franchise, they see this shit and they're like, oh, that's what that is. Ew. It's very sad. It's very sad to me. But anyway, that's just my honest opinion. I'm not attacking anyone personally. If you liked it, cool. I'm happy for you. I gave it a chance. I watched the whole thing. It did have some sweet moments in there, but I'm sorry, but like 1.5% sweet moments in this entire season don't make up for the rest of the overwhelmingly bad. Oh, and if you want to get more info about this creature, then check out the link to my DeviantArt, and there will be like a little subtext under there. I hope you liked it. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.